Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Lizzie A. Borden, a dramatic reading of the full trial transcript. Day 4. Chief Justice Mason and Justices Blodgett and Dewey presided. The state was represented by the Honorable Hosea M. Knowlton, District Attorney of the Southern District, and William H. Moody, District Attorney of the Eastern District. The defendant, Miss Borden, was represented by the Honorable George D. Robinson, the Honorable Andrew J. Jennings, and Melvin O. Adams, Esquire. Cross-examination of the witness by Mr. Robinson of the defense.
Have you ever testified before in regard to these matters?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Fall River.
When?
Last August.
Do you think you told the same story then that you tell now?
I think about the same. The words may be different, the same meaning, I think.
You think you haven't testified any more than you did the other time?
I may.
You may?
Yes, sir.
Well, you have, haven't you?
I may.
You have?
I think like enough I have.
Don't you know you have?
No, I don't.
Why do you hesitate?
I don't.
Then tell me why you tell more this time than you did before.
I don't say that I tell more than I did before.
Well, do you tell more?
I don't know.
Do you mean to say you don't know?
I do, yes.
Was your testimony taken at the district court when you gave it?
It was, I suppose.
Taken by Miss White, the stenographer?
Yes, sir.
Have you read it over since that time?
No, sir.
Haven't you read any copy of it at all?
No, sir.
Haven't seen any?
No, sir.
So it is simply from your memory now, is it, that you are giving us?
Yes, and notes which I made.
Notes? Now, the notes you made before the other hearing, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Do you know what you added in your testimony this time?
You are assuming he has.
Have you added to your testimony?
I don't know.
You really say you don't know?
That is what I said, yes, sir.
Do you mean it?
I do, yes.
Do you think you have given us today the names of the same persons that were there when you arrived at the house that you gave at the district court?
I don't think I've given you so many names as I did there.
Well, I will hear you now give us the names, if you please.
What time?
When you arrived at the Borden house first.
There was Mr. Manning, a reporter of the Globe, Mr. Medley, Mr. Sire, Mr. Mullally, Mr. Doherty, Mr. Morris, and Bridget Sullivan, and other officers who came there after I got there.
Well, I asked you those that were there when you got there.
Well, I'm giving them to you as I recollect.
Did you give any such statement as that in the other hearing, as you recall it?
Not that I know of. I don't recall it, no.
The notes that you made were before the other hearing, were they not?
Yes, sir.
Did you look at them before the other hearing?
I think I did, yes.
Did you look at them since?
I think I did, yes. In fact, I know I did.
When did you last look at them?
Within a few days.
Preparing for this testimony?
I just looked them over, yes, sir.
Now, in answering the question, whom did you find there when you got there? Was this your answer at the trial in the district court? I saw Officer Gillen at the front door, and I think Mr. Manning, the reporter, was there at the time. I went around to the back door and saw Mr. Charles Sawyer and went into the house.
That is right. That is, as I gave it down there, that is right.
Is it any different now?
No, sir, it isn't any different.
All those names that you have given me since, when did they get there?
They was there at the time when I got there.
But you didn't think to give them before?
It wasn't necessary and I wasn't called upon to give them.
I say you didn't think to give them before.
They were not asked me.
You were asked, who did you find when you got there?
Yes, sir, I mentioned some of the parties I found.
Did you intend to leave the others out?
Why, I can add them now if you like.
Did you intend then to leave them out?
No, sir, I never gave it a thought, didn't think it was necessary.
Then you went on, and you told who were in the house. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Miss Lizzie Borden when you got in the house?
I did not.
Didn't see her at all?
Not at the beginning, no, sir.
Where did you first see her?
In a room upstairs.
Where did you first see Mr. Buck?
In Lizzie's room upstairs.
So you didn't see Miss Lizzie when you first got into the house?
No, sir.
Now, you have told us that when Mr. Borden came back, she said that when her father came back into the house, that she thought he looked rather feeble, and she advised him to lie down on the lounge or sofa.
And assisted him.
Did you tell anything about that before?
I think I did.
Do you have any recollection of it, the slightest?
I think I did, sir.
Do you testify now that you did?
I do. Think it is just about the same, stands just about the same as it was before.
No, I don't care about the whole of the testimony, the same as it was before. I want to know if you testified about that at the other hearing.
I did. Yes, sir.
You swear to that?
Yes, sir.
Then after she told you that, you say you were out into the yard and up into the barn. Is that so?
After she told me that she had assisted her father to the lounge?
Yes.
Yes, sir. She said that she was ironing, and she left her ironing and went outside and up in the barn.
No, you do not understand me. Did you go out to the barn?
No, sir. I did not at that time.
Now, was it at that time, when you were talking with her in the room, that she said she did not believe that Maggie or the servant, whatever she called her, had anything to do with it?
She did, yes.
And Mr. Morse?
And Mr. Morse couldn't, she said.
Of them both, she said she didn't have anything to do with it?
That is right.
When was it you first went down cellar that day?
Immediately after I came down from the attic.
And where had you been before you went to the attic?
I'd been through the sitting room and the spare room and in Lizzie Borden's room.
Do you know anything about how the hook on the door on the inside of Miss Lizzie's room came to be pulled off?
It wasn't pulled off.
At any time?
Not that ever I saw.
You didn't know anything about that then?
No, sir.
Do you know anything about any officers pulling from the other side and pulling it open?
No, sir.
Do you know anything about the officers going up to Mr. Borden's room and pulling that open?
No, sir.
You don't know about that?
No, sir.
When you got there, you saw it was hooked.
It was.
Was it locked on the other side?
It was. When I got around to it, it was.
Both sides you found locked.
Yes, sir.
Your talk up there with her is about as you have given. You spoke of the man that came there, she saw about 9 o'clock or heard her father speaking with him.
Yes.
And then about 2 weeks before?
Yes.
And did she say anything about the conversation with the man 2 weeks before?
She said that the man was talking with her father, and I asked her what he was talking about, and she said that she thought that the man wanted to get a store from her father. And her father said that he wouldn't let him have the store for that purpose. What was the purpose was, of course, I couldn't say, and the man seemed to be angry.
Did she say that the man made any reply?
That is the way of talking. She said the man seemed to be angry.
Well, did she tell you what the man said in reply?
No, sir.
Do you remember anything like this that the man said? I thought you liked money so much you would let it for anything.
No, sir.
You don't remember that?
No, sir.
At that time, what searches of the house did you make that day?
That day?
Yes, sir.
Or at the first time?
That day.
I searched the room of Lizzie and of Emma Borden.
I would like to have you begin in the order in which you made them.
Well, we will commence with Lizzie's room then. I searched Lizzie's room and Emma's room.
Who were there?
Officers Wilson and Minahan.
And yourself?
Yes, sir.
Who else were in the room?
At that time?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Bowen, Mrs. Holmes, and Lizzie Borden.
Was Mr. Buck there then?
No, sir.
Mrs. Charles J. Holmes?
That is right.
Now, what did you three do? What did you look at in that room?
We looked in the drawers.
Well, go on.
Round the bed, under the bed, into Emma's bedroom. We didn't look as closely as we might have done.
Well, I would like to have you tell me what you did do. You looked into the bed, you said?
Yes, sir. We didn't look closely in the bed. We felt round the head of the bed and didn't take things off as we should have done.
Well, no matter about that. That is no part of the answer. Well, you had free liberty to do it after you went into the room?
Yes, we had, as officers, of course.
Well, I don't ask about officers. Nobody interfered with you?
No.
After you went into the room...
Let him finish the answer. Finish the answer.
I say that we didn't search the bed as thoroughly as we ought to.
That you have said already.
Yes, sir.
How much time did you spend there?
Oh, a very few minutes.
Were you looking for the man that committed the murder in there?
Or any instrument.
You didn't really expect to find the murder in there.
Not at that time, no, sir.
And you were looking for the instrument.
Yes, sir, or anything else which would indicate.
You explained that. When you rapped at the door, Dr. Bowen wanted to know if you must come in or something of that kind?
He opened the door and wanted to know what was wanted.
And stood at the door, as of course he would in opening the door and talking to you. There was nothing unusual about that?
No. No further than he seemed to be holding the fort, that is all.
Is that an answer to my question?
I should think it applied to the manner in which he was doing the business.
You looked at it that way?
Yes, sir.
Was he doing anything more than standing with his hand on the door?
Yes, sir, standing with his hand on the door and with the door ajar about 8 inches. And as though there was somebody inside there. I didn't know, but Lizzie might be sick if you take it in that way, or something the matter. He was so afraid about it.
She was in there, wasn't she?
She was.
And Mrs. Holmes was there?
Yes, sir.
Very well. And the conversation was had and then you were admitted?
We were, yes.
And did she say she hoped you would get through soon because it would make her sick?
Words to that effect, yes.
You remember that this time she said it would make her tired, and now do you remember at the former trial you said it would make her sick? Do you remember anything about the exact words that were used?
I think she said she wanted us to hurry up, that is, get out of there, that this was making her sick. I think before that, that she said that she was getting tired of this. This was making her sick.
Do you know whether Officer Harrington had talked with her before?
I had not.
You didn't know it?
No, sir.
And you know nothing about the time that he talked with her, if he did talk with her?
I do not. No, sir.
You do not know about that. Is Officer Harrington a man on the force now?
He is.
Do you know anything about any of the other officers talking with her?
No, sir.
Before that, I mean.
No, sir, not personally.
You examined the drawers and those in Emma's room also?
Yes, sir.
And searched the bed, did you not?
I said before, not very closely.
And Lizzie's bed?
Yes, sir, around it.
Didn't you search all the other places that were available there?
That is what I said. We searched the room and searched the drawers and around the bed, but not very closely.
Were you asked about that time to go to the clothes closet?
Yes.
Who let you in there?
Lizzie Borden.
She went and unlocked the door.
She did.
Did you 3 officers go in?
I think we did. I went in, looked in.
Tell me what you found there.
We found some dresses, perhaps a dozen or more dresses hanging up on the wall, and some hat boxes on a shelf and other things.
On both sides of the room?
No, sir. I think they were hung on one side of the room.
You don't think there were any on 2 sides?
I don't think so. I don't recollect.
You do not speak positively about that?
I do not.
Were the dresses all exposed as they hung up there on the hooks?
I think they were.
You're pretty certain about that?
I did have the impression that they were covered in the first place.
What first place?
My first search.
Well, are you going to change it now?
Yes, sir.
Were they covered or not?
I think not.
When did you think of that?
Since looking in that room again.
Since you testified at the other hearing?
I don't know. I don't know whether it is since then or before.
Well, when was it? I want to get at it. When did you change your recollection about it?
Has he said he changed his recollection?
He said he thought he should change it. I thought I would like to know whether he was going to or not.
My impression was that there was a cover over the dresses, and since then my impression has been that the dresses, having been turned inside out, gave me the impression that there was a covering over the dresses.
And you didn't look carefully enough then, when you were there, to find whether they were dresses turned wrong side out, or whether there was a cloth hung over them the first time.
I didn't look very carefully, no, sir.
Do you know how you testified about that at the hearing?
Yes, sir.
How did you testify?
I testified that there was a cloth hanging over the dresses.
What kind of a cloth did you testify?
Well, a sheet.
A white cloth?
A white cloth.
Didn't you testify this way? Was there a cloth over them? Yes, sir. What kind of cloth? A white cloth. Hung all over this clothing in the closet? Yes, sir. A cheesecloth? A sheet to keep the dust off? Like a sheet. How was the cloth fixed up? How was it fastened or placed over them after they were hung there? Run from one end of the room to the door. Tacked up? I do not know, so you could lift it up.
I don't know how much further you are going to read. There should certainly be a limit.
You lifted it up without its coming down. Yes. Is that so? Did you testify that way before?
I testified that there was a sheet there, yes.
And how long was that after you had been there?
Perhaps 2 weeks.
And you have not been there since you testified, have you?
I don't know whether I have or not.
Well, have you been in the house at all since that Saturday, the day of the funeral?
Yes, sir.
Have you been there since the preliminary hearing? Have you been in the house?
I don't recollect, but I think I have.
Have you been up there in that clothes room to look the situation over again since the district court hearing?
No, sir.
You have not.
No, sir.
Did you look those dresses over thoroughly at that time?
No, sir.
You did not.
No, sir.
What did you do? What kind of search did you make in there?
We just looked in behind the dresses. At that time, we weren't looking very closely, that is, for any dresses, especially in the manner in which those dresses were hanging up there.
That was on Thursday?
That was on Thursday.
Now, do you remember anything of how you testified about that at the former trial?
Yes, just what I'm testifying now, I believe.
You think it was just the same?
Yes, pretty near.
Wasn't this your testimony? What did you look at? I did. I looked at the clothing, some of it.
Yes, sir.
What did you leave unlooked at? Any portion of it? No, sir. I just merely looked at the clothing. I lifted up the cloth over them and took each dress and looked at it. Is that so?
Well, that is just as I tell you. I didn't look at them very closely. I looked at the dresses, but not very closely.
But you took each dress and looked at it. Is that so?
Yes, sir. I think it is about so.
Were you looking to see if you could find any bloody garments? Not very closely. I was if. Did you have that in mind? Yes, sir. Is that so?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you say whether you did make any sort of search there in that clothes room?
I did.
Now, how many dresses were there?
I thought about a dozen or more.
Well, you didn't see any paint on them.
No, sir.
This was Saturday.
No, this was Thursday.
This was Thursday?
Yes, sir.
Would you have seen any paint the way you looked?
I don't think that I should.
Would you have seen any blood the way you looked?
Not without it was on the outside right before my eyes. I didn't look at them close enough to notice.
Notwithstanding, you took each dress and looked at it.
I did. I took the dresses, moved them one side, that is about all, and went around the clothes press in that way. It didn't take us 2 minutes in there.
You were not expecting to find any man behind those women's dresses.
There was a possibility of a man being in that room.
Really? Were you looking for him there?
We were looking for a man or any other instrument or clothing that might have been there.
Were you looking for the man in that clothing?
If he was there, yes, we was.
You really thought you were looking for him?
Yes.
You thought you would find him?
We were looking there, so there would be no excuse for anybody being in that room.
The key was turned and it was locked when you went there?
Yes.
And when you went in there, you were looking for a man, and you did not examine the dresses to find any stains upon them?
I did, as I have told you.
Mr. Robinson suspends the cross-examination of the witness. At 5 p.m., the court was adjourned until Friday, June 9th at 9 a.m. The Lizzie Borden Trial, Day 4, featured Christine Daniels as George Robinson, Kevin Morrison as Chief Justice Mason, Mark Penny as Hosea Knowlton, Keith Morrison as William H. Moody, Matt Campbell as John Fleet. This production was produced by Lion's Den Theatre. Feel free to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm your Day 4 announcer, Denisha Farrell. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe.